Okay, now we all know how important sustainability is increasingly in our society, and an obligation, a call to action, I think, for our industry. That's why we invited our next guest speaker to share State Farm's story about what they're doing to do exactly just that. State Farm have been on a 4-year journey to lead by example, really, when it comes to sustainability. And our next speaker, his name is David Gwarda. Remarkably, he joined State Farm in 1993, a 30-year career in insurance and at this great brand. And he had various roles, leadership roles across underwriting and finance and IT and learning and development. In 2017, he took on a new strategic role, leading areas such as customer engagement, driving targeted growth, and leading the way forward in environmental sustainability. He's going to join us in a minute. Let's play a short video from State Farm first.
We are all here for the same reason: to help people through their most difficult times. It's why all of us, together, are always ready. Ready to leave on a moment's notice. Ready to stay as long as it takes. Ready to listen and lend a hand. Ready to make the claims process easy. Ready to be here. Ready to go there. Because when things are at their worst, State Farm is at its best. We're all here to be ready. Let's get to work.
Okay, please join me in welcoming to the stage David Gwarda from State Farm.
Thank you, guys. Good morning. So I just have 2 questions to start. First is, how did Brian get a walk-up song from Dolly Parton? And second is, if I hum a few bars, will you have to pay? So hopefully, as you saw this video, you felt the power of community, and you started to see the picture of who State Farm is and why our mission matters. I'm proud to share that video and have the privilege to be able to tell our story today. As unfortunate as are some of the scenes from catastrophes, that's the reality for our customers and communities today. In fact, many of you likely have family, friends, and even yourselves whose lives have been changed due to a catastrophe. The devastation is heart-wrenching. And yet, as we know, this is happening on an increasing level in both frequency and severity due to a number of factors, including a changing climate. What was conveyed in the video is why it is so important for each of our 64,000 employees and over 19,000 agents who deliver on our mission each and every day. It's about promoting safer, stronger, more sustainable communities. At State Farm, we focus on sustainability and resilience, not to satisfy third-party expectations or to conform to external pressures to address climate change. That would just be reactive. We do so simply because it is in the best long-term interest of our customers as a whole, and their needs will always guide our path. It's clear what we're seeing in the environment today. All of you are experiencing this. It's increasingly volatile, and the impact on insurance availability and affordability is real. So what is each organization's role in this? What is our industry's role? We collectively have the opportunity to influence and change the path to more prosperous and resilient communities for years to come. And when we come together as an industry, that is when you see the theme of this week in practice. There is power in the community. With more complex and sometimes conflicting legislation and sentiment across jurisdictions, at times it can be paralyzing. And the environment is incredibly difficult to navigate if you don't stay true to your broader mission. The State Farm mission is to help people manage the risks of everyday life, to recover from the unexpected, and to realize their dreams. Yet, the changing climate is creating greater risks and greater uncertainty in the lives of our customers. And so we believe that our primary role is to have the financial strength to be there when they need us most. And that is important. It's very important. But today, that is not enough. Committing to the long-term resilience of the planet, reducing our impact on the environment, and being a good neighbor starts with us. And while our deep focus on this has really, as Brian mentioned, been in the past 4 years, this is not new to State Farm. Throughout our 101-year history, we have kept our promise through significant weather events, through significant disasters, being there to help customers recover and communities recover time and again. But today, responding is critical, but it is not enough. So State Farm is committed to sustainability and climate resilience in 4 key ways. It's reducing carbon emissions and the associated effect on the environment. It's addressing the risks associated with climate change. It's advancing climate resilience through a number of ways. Strategic partnerships, through innovation and education. And finally, it's lessening the impact of waste on the environment towards a more circular economy. Last month, the federal government just released their National Climate Resilience Framework, and it had the vision of reimagining the federal government's role in advancing climate resilience. As individual organizations like State Farm, we can enable customers to become more resilient on their own. And that's great and it's important, but it is not enough. As a collective industry and as a business community, we should also reimagine and focus our energies on climate resilience of communities as a whole, and then commit and act. But let's start with a common understanding of what resilience is. A resilient community is one that can withstand and recover from any number of challenges. It includes both the human response and the performance of the built environment. Resilience should be viewed on a continuum, not with an end state in mind. And State Farm is focusing on a few key things related to resilience. Things that you're familiar with. They're not novel, but they're critical. It's building codes, it's disaster preparedness, it's land use, advanced data capabilities, and consumer education. We believe that homes and commercial structures must be made more resilient to be able to withstand the shifting of the population. And we see that towards the coasts. And State Farm and the industry is committed to ensuring that homes built and repaired today are better able to withstand catastrophes tomorrow. And that's not just to reduce damages or reduce damage costs or even to protect the environment. It's also about saving lives. Our stance is consistent with our mission, and it's supported by research. FEMA has released a research that said that for every $1 spent in investing towards conforming to the most current building codes, it saves the nation $11 in damage costs. Reducing damage also protects the environment through resilient homes, create less debris and waste that go into landfills when a catastrophe strikes. Unfortunately, only a few states have adopted the most current codes, and most don't have the resources nor the ability to implement and enforce the codes. And there's some federal movement to fund some of the code upgrades, but it needs to be more widespread to make a difference and have the benefit for all of the future generations of homeowners. The strain on society can also be mitigated through land use and land management. Governments, federal, state, and local, need to be thoughtful as to how and even whether to rebuild after a catastrophe, especially in areas most susceptible to disasters. The link between the nation's ability to rebuild and our industry's ability to help finance recovery after a catastrophe is very strong. So how can we, as a community, influence? As we look at global trends, there's several trends that are concerning to our industry. And you've seen them: rising temperatures, more infrequent severe storms. The risk management profile of our industry is changing. And while risk management is not sexy, it is at the core of an insurer's identity. And we need to build these trends into our broader strategic plans. And they need to be not siloed, and they also need to be looking broadly, not nearsighted. We also have an opportunity to advocate for more freedom in using sophisticated catastrophe models to better match price to risk. And any barrier to that will inhibit our industry's ability to best manage catastrophe risk. So how do we ensure that we're not too siloed? The key is with strategic partnerships. And that's with our own industry, with business groups, and with those that are making local decisions within their communities. When we have a united and research-supported voice, that gives us the best opportunity to influence. State Farm invests in and collaborates with a number of industry groups, and I'll highlight a couple here. IBHS is focused on real-world solutions, and a great example is their IBHS Wildfire Prepared Home program that was influential in the Western states and has been very successful. Flash is another key partner of State Farm, and they're focused on strengthening homes and safeguarding families from disasters. And the Firewise communities through the NFPA. State Farm partnered with them to create promotional materials and education materials to inspire families and communities to be better educated and to be safer from wildfires. And no doubt, many of you are already deeply engaged in many of these groups and more. And that just hammers home that there is power in the community. And while State Farm is deeply committed to protecting our neighbors, that as well is not enough. We believe that we need to take care of our own house first and then extend that to the neighborhoods that we serve. It's a responsibility we do not take lightly. And so to look at our insurance operations internally, we have a dedicated environmental sustainability team. They're highly talented, dedicated to our mission, and they influence behaviors, practices, and strategies all towards our goals. In 2021, State Farm also announced our goal of reducing our greenhouse gases by 50% by 2030. And I'm proud to say that we're well on our way to that, at a 46% reduction at the end of 2022. And we won't stop there, because what we found is reducing emissions also has a positive effect on the overall efficiency of our operations. Beyond that commitment, State Farm is making an impact in a number of other ways. We're optimizing paper use. We have reduced 140 million mailings, over 300 million sheets of paper a year, and that amounts to about 30,000 trees, for those of you keeping score at home. We also support communities through grants, and that is including things like protecting land and water sources, air quality, and most importantly, disaster preparation and recovery for unfortunate events like the Lahaina fire. We also use renewable energy, and we have that at 13 of our facilities countrywide, and the energy that is saved from that is similar to the emissions from 18,000 homes on an annual basis. We also are continuing our journey of reducing waste toward a more circular economy. We have 97% of our food services waste that is composted. We've reduced and eliminated single-use plastic water bottles in all of our campuses, and we have 2 of our distribution centers that are zero-waste facilities. So these are not insignificant steps, nor were they easy, but our customers expect it, our employees are inspired by it, the younger generation, they demand it, and it's the right thing to do. And speaking of generations, so the younger generation, if you've seen any research or you have a couple of them at home like I do, they're focused on some of the big challenges of the day, environment being one, and they expect companies like State Farm to take a part in it. This summer, we had a large group of interns in, and I heard numerous comments from them on 2 things. One is that they were pleased that State Farm was focused on sustainability, and second, that they were surprised that it was coming from an insurance company. But I kind of gave them a little secret. Insurance is pretty cool. They were pretty pleased with that. So I'm a firm believer that modeling can create behavior change. And it doesn't always work with my daughters, but stick with me on this. If we as a community can model sustainable behaviors, that will have a cascading effect on our employees, our customers, and the communities that we serve. So as I finish, I would encourage each of you to consider 3 things in each of your area of responsibility. First is, how can you build and improve your strategic partnerships to focus on the key issues of the day in our industry? Second is, how can you model sustainability within your operations and with the customers and communities that you serve? And third is, deepen your knowledge. Consider attending one of the Guidewire sessions on this topic in the coming year. So ultimately, I believe our focused efforts can both keep our promises of today and build the neighborhoods we can be proud to pass on to the next generation, my daughters included. Thank you.
Great job, Dave. Great job. Thanks. Oh, I love a few things about that. Risk management being at the core identity of insurance companies, that will stay true to me. I love the fact that State Farm is leading by example, I think, in this community. And I love the fact that insurance is pretty cool. That is it for the morning sessions. Please be sure to be back here for must-see sessions at 11 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.